welcome to Badly Written Boy, a reciting of my teenage years and my 20s, now as a 40-something. How do I remember all these things? I wrote it all down in a diary. Badly. Enduring with me on this retrospective, cringeworthy experience is my wife, who has never read my diaries. Welcome to Badly Written Boy, a show about a boy who bravely fends off his sugar and stationery addictions to become a champion swimmer and catch the bus on time. Listen on as he ventures forth into the world of higher education and Australian adventures, in a world before social media, decent internet speeds and smartphones.
Now only 6 days till I go to Australia. Time has flied by. There was a comet visible tonight. It has entered our solar complex and it's called hale bopp.
Hale bopp.
Hey. No, so when this comet came, was the same time that the Heaven's Gate cult all killed themselves.
Who was that? The Heaven's Gate cult?
Never heard of the Heaven's Gate cult?
No.
Right, okay. So the Heaven's Gate cult started off as this guy he was basically gay, but you know, he married a woman, like he hid it from everywhere. His dad was really religious, blah, blah. Ended up in a psychiatric institute. Met this nurse that was his nurse when he was in there. And when he got out, he read the Bible, all this kind of stuff, and decided that he actually knew what was happening. And it was very much like a Scientology-based thing, like, not Scientology-based, I don't think Scientology had happened then, but similar to Scientology in that, you know, they were all kind of aliens that were just inhabiting these bodies. And as soon as kind of the apocalypse came or whatever came, they would be released. And
Sounds like something I would have read in X Factor.
Yeah. Their bodies would be transformed to these heavenly whatever, and they would have their own planets and their own universes and whatever. They ended up going round and they just traveled the US. It was like the 70s and 80s, collecting people. And all of these people joined up, brought all of the money. And their rules were ridiculous. Like they could only wear like a Nike tracksuit and like white Nike trainers. They all had to shave their hair off. Mm-hmm. They were not allowed to drink, smoke, swear, masturbate. So at one point, all the men were finding it so difficult because they were just waiting for these, you know, these alien visitors to come and take them. So it was like 20 or 30 years. So they ended up castrating the males. Like,
oh my God.
So the nurse that had started it all was like, oh, it's okay. I'm a nurse. I've seen this happen before. So she tried to remove the testicles of one of the guys. They had no anesthetic. They didn't know what they were doing, obviously. And this guy nearly died on the table.
Sounds like a cool club. Where can I join?
Yeah. So the rest of the guys were like, well, half of them dropped out. They were like, no, we'll just stick with not masturbating. The other half, they found a doctor that would do it for them. And they were saying like that all these people, like they had to have jobs because they couldn't afford it. So they were out in the real world, like with their shaven heads, with these tracksuits on, working like IT jobs and stuff like that, trying to get people involved. You know, imagine like just the weird person at work,
from
just being, a member of the cult. And, you know, anytime they'd get someone rich to come in, they would bring all the money. Anyway, they found out that Halley's Comet was coming, and the nurse...
Hale bopp
comet, sorry. The nurse had died, so she'd had cancer and she died. And the guy was kind of selling it as, oh, this is great. You know, she's ascended. Like she's gone to get the alien ship and she'll be coming back. So when hale bopp came, that was the alien ship that was coming to rescue them. Ugh. So he moved them all to this mansion. He like relaxed the rules a little bit. Like they were allowed to drink a little bit. They were allowed to just live their lives and not be, you know, essentially slaves to this because they were all going to ascend. And there was something like 60 or 70 people. Oh, there was some kind of conspiracy in the paper that someone had seen a ship trailing in the, you know, the comet tail.
Yes.
So he just used that and was like, yep, that's her. She's coming for us. I think they called themselves Doe and Ray, something like that. They had like all these different names. Anyway, so all of these people in this cult committed suicide when hale bopp came over because they had to leave this body in order to ascend to this thing. So they like sent letters out so that someone would know to come and find them. And they found these 60, 70 people all dressed identically, all just lay out because they'd all taken whatever thing and just lay down next to each other. And they'd all committed suicide at the same time. And there's still the website that they created, and it's such a 90s website.
It would be.
Yeah, if you just Google, like, you know, Heaven's Gate,
Yeah.
It's such a 90s website, and it's just been there, but it's got all the videos. Like, they all did like exit videos where they were saying, you know, we're really looking forward to ascending, and, you know, we can't wait for the next life, and blah, blah, blah.
I suppose this is like early days of the mainstream internet. And so it's amazing that they had a website, but yeah, I can never understand why people get embroiled in like cults.
But people are just, but they're looking for belonging, and they're looking for understanding, and, you know, people that will accept them for exactly who they are. And that's what they find, especially in the beginning. And then it just becomes too hard to leave, because you give up your life, you give up your family, give up your money, you give up your testicles. And all of a sudden, you're just here. So there were a few people that stayed behind, and they have still been interviewed like fairly recently. And some of them are still like, oh, you know, I missed my chance. Like, I wish I'd gone, because they still kind of believe that. They still believe that, you know, because that's what they told them. Like, you will die here, but, you know, no one on earth will be able to see you, but you'll have ascended and be living this life as this ethereal body or whatever. And, you know, the people that are down on earth, I guess if anything bad happens to them on earth, they'd just be like, oh shit, I should have just gone with them, and now I'd be living like this ethereal life. Who knows? Mental.
That is
mental. Crazy. I would recommend researching Heaven's Gate, because it is just a whirlwind of a story. Like, even beyond, like, why would you castrate yourself? Why would you remove your testicles? That's how ingrained they are, that they just let a nurse, it wasn't even a doctor, a psychiatric nurse who had seen a castration, allegedly, 20 years before she joined the cult. She's like, oh, I've got some clamps. I know there's some arteries and shit in there. We'll just clamp them down, right? Like, that's what you do.
It would have been agony.
Agony. Like, all of, like, the guys were holding him down. And then, yeah, obviously half of them backed out and were just like, I'll just deal with not masturbating.
Yeah.
Or not being pure and not... Anyway, back to this.
Moral of the story, don't join a cult.
Yeah, slight detour. So once Hale bopp leaves the solar system, it won't be visible for another 3,000 years.
Wow.
So you saw it with the only chance. Yeah, I don't think I saw it, or I can't remember seeing it anyway. Hang on, we've jumped straight to June.
Well, we do have bits and pieces of the notes from the trip to Australia, none of which are in much detail apart from the flight over there. Do you want to read the first bit?
Yeah, let me read it. What a disaster. One of the only things I have to remember, and I forgot. My Game Boy, of course. Oh, it's like you haven't changed.
What, forgetting Game Boys?
Not necessarily Game Boys, just stuff that you need to remember to do. Grandpa said he would zoom back in his car and fetch it from the house. While I was cursing myself, Mum was getting the tickets fixed up. Luckily, Grandpa did get back in time. Philip rushed in and gave it to me. I managed not to shed a tear when I said goodbye to everyone, and it didn't cross my mind at the time, surprisingly. A lady hostess took me to a waiting room, and it was not long until I was taken to board my flight to Heathrow, London. The main flight officer on the plane was called John Day, and he made regular announcements. How can you... It's like a half-hour flight. How could he make regular announcements? That would be so annoying. It's been 2 minutes since I last spoke to you. I'd like to let you know that we are now over Birmingham.
Shut up, I just want to read a newspaper.
Once I got to London, I'd had a meal on the plane, and I had met a nice middle-aged businesswoman who told me what I could see out of the window, although it was dark. Middle-aged. How old? I reckon she was like 25. Middle-aged.
I was just kept asking, now what? Now what?
You're probably not knowing, kid.
More darkness, clouds.
Once
lights.
I got off the plane, I was taken as soon as I got off the plane at Heathrow by an air hostess to Terminal 6, where I was due to take off to Bangkok. The lady, which I unfortunately didn't get the name of, she was quite nice, took me around duty free, but I only bought a bottle of Lilt to drink. Classic. I do love Lilt. Was it like pineapple? I mean, it was the totally tropical taste.
Lemon and pineapple, I think.
Lemon and pineapple. We had to get a bus across the airport, which didn't take long. I was then deposited at Terminal 6, and many other kids were there. It's
deposited.
It's like some kind of like, what's it called? Child trafficking. There were many other kids there. I took off in a jumbo jet, flight BA009, which was to be the most, you said tearing, and I assume you mean tiring, of all my journey's flights. The jumbo had many different gizmos, bits and bobs compared to the 3/4 hour flight from Newcastle. I sat in an aisle, spelt I-A-L. That's really bad.
Ayal.
Ayal. I sat in an ayal seat so I could get
Kinda
up
makes
as I
sense.
wished. Yeah, still, which was handy, although I did have to shift several times for the middle and window occupants, who were Swedish. Their names were Martin and Elet. You have made friends with everybody on these planes. You must be so annoying.
To be fair, the most interesting thing that seems to have happened this year is getting on and off buses. So
Yes, this is true. But I did get a conversation going until about halfway through the flight, which was unfortunate because they were very pleasant to talk to as their English was fluent. As fluent as a 12-year-old.
I assume that's a compliment, but
How do you determine the fluency, like the fluency level of a 12-year-old? What's the difference between a 12-year-old and... You're basically saying that they can speak like English, not quite as good as you can.
just childishly.
Exactly.
Because I'm, what, 14?
Yeah, exactly. Like, your English is
You can
good.
speak okay, but you're inferior.
Exactly. You can speak okay.
Do you reckon I told that to them as well?
But this is probably why they tried to stop talking to you. You were like, we had a conversation going until about halfway through the flight, which was unfortunate. I bet they couldn't wait to stop talking to you because you'd just be like, that's not how you pronounce that word. It's actually pronounced aisle. Thank you. I bet they could not wait to get away from you.
Yeah, me thinking I'm giving them compliments. You sound really good at English, like a 12-year-old.
You can almost speak as well as my little sister.
Do you understand what I am saying?
Have you ever heard of a computer? Martin is a guy deeply involved in management with electrical stuff, mostly of the plumbing type. You cannot call anyone's English. There are several spelling mistakes here.
I must have been like scrawling this down as they were speaking to me.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
way too detailed, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, stop there, Martin. I was going to write this down.
Can you just repeat that, Martin?
Sorry, a plumbing type, did you say?
Plumbing type. And how do you spell type? Good work, Martin. Up to grade 13. Thank you very much. Ilette's job was so hard to explain that it was very hard to understand, not because their English was bad, but because it wasn't an everyday type of job. Martin and Ilette were quite interested in me. No, they were not. As I them, but we're only going as far as Bangkok on the plane, so I was to meet a new set of 2 people, which I look forward to. You are the worst type of person on a plane. I can just imagine you just sat there, just with your book, just like, oh, it's such a pleasure to meet you, my name's
Hello,
Mark.
human being.
I'm an unaccompanied minor. Would you like to hear about my bus traumas?
Can I hear your English so I can judge you?
Ooh, tick, grade 13 English, thank you. I only got 2 hours on the way here to Bangkok, partly because it was hard to balance on the seat. I saw the movie Star Trek First Contact. When we got to Bangkok, Martin and Ilette got off, so I said bye.
I was running off that plane.
Yes, absolutely. I wasn't even allowed to get off the plane at Bangkok, so it was really boring when I was on the ground. When we lifted off from Bangkok,
The end.
no further information.
I must have crashed.
Clearly. Or Martin and Ilette tried to murder you because they were so bored of your life.
I reckon they must have snatched the pen out of my hand.
Oh my God.
And thrown it into the turbine.
Maybe they actually worked for like some kind of secret agency and couldn't have you writing down all their secrets.
Possibly.
Why have you gone to the back?
Because in the back of this has a mini diary of the stuff that I did on this.
On the
this
plane?
trip. Oh, no, for the duration of that trip.
Oh, okay.
So what did I get up to?
So you had a traveller's check, apparently. You went to University of Queensland, Mount Cootha, Botanics, Granny's for a sleepover, Bonfire and Sizzlers.
Sizzlers. They don't even have that anymore.
Ah, Sizzlers, the restaurant.
Yeah. Did we ever get there?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, the steakhouse, right?
Yeah. Alma's Park with Karen's family, City Cat, and your dad's haircut when he still had hair.
So I was just watching him get his haircut.
Yeah, exciting. SeaWorld,
Probably more exciting.
Brookside, Karen's for a Barbie, which... Oh no, Karen's for board for Bribey, which wasn't wavy but still swam. Had an ice cream wedge, Granny's for tea, Karen's family, Warner Brothers Movie World.
Yes.
With Patricia. I was like, what?
Patricia.
I was like, who is this Indian lady that you've made friends with? But no, it's Patricia.
Patricia.
Spelled P-Trisha. Yeah, P-Trisha.
Patricia.
Shoppings, more City Cat. That's like your dad's favourite thing. Newsagent, your favourite thing. Packing dinner at Granny's. Tea with Dad, Gran and Grandad. Karen's family. Swam in Karen's pool. Went to town, had McDonald's. Mulaney. Picnic, barbecue. Karen and Paul's. Went to Brookside again. Drove to Barry's. Goldmine, Noosa, Malula Bar. Town with Haley. Star Wars, South Bank. Picnic barbecue at Redcliffe, Turnbull, fishing, caught yabbies, Brookside, Jenny's house. Sounds pretty busy.
Awesome trip.
Not the it's just that first sentence. I thought this was the next day. I shouldn't be laughing. But the first sentence in this 2003 entry, I just thought I'd make this entry because I wanted to mention my recent observations of death.
Sounds pretty heavy.
It's really heavy.
Haven't written for ages.
So we've gone from 1997, caring about the bus. 6 years later, Mr. Dark. Let's talk about our observations of death.
Goth
Who have
era.
you seen die? I mean, we'll talk about it in 2003, but
We won't know until we get to 2003.
my goodness.
Back to
You should know
1997.
who's died between 97 and 2003.
I should. Tomorrow is the start of a new half term and a long one with no pressure from peers expected. Like if I had a new haircut like last half term. Oh, peers. Okay, with no pressure from peers expected. I spelled it pears.
Of course.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
It should be a reasonable day.
Reasonable day.
Put reason and then a different line, able day. A reasonable day. I have done many things this holiday. I thought I was wasting my time. I've done a lot in the back garden and a lot of work on my latest technology project. 23rd of June, Mum has been quizzing me on assorted questions that the head of St. Cuthbert's might ask me when I go to the open morning on Wednesday. Oh, I remember what was going to happen. So I really hated high school and I wanted to change, but I don't think I could get into St. Cuthbert's unless Phil, my older brother, also went over there. 25th of June, today I didn't go to school because I went to an open morning, which turned out to be private because Philip and I were the only ones being shown around. I was shown around the school by the deputy head, who showed me all of the technology and PE facilities, which I soon began to regret. Oh, do I? I saw, maybe it's because, I don't know, maybe I didn't have as good a stuff at that as at my school. I saw some familiar faces, including Mark Ty, an old friend from Chapel Park, and I also noticed that this lad that I see on my paper round, not yet spoken to him though, and he's actually not very tall, but he turned out to be a 10th year. There were still 3 lessons by the time I got back to school, which I chose to do, and as these passed, I noticed how much more well-disciplined St. Cuthbert's were compared to my school. I'd really like to go to St. Cuthbert's, but my only regret is that it's an all-boys school.
Uh-oh.
It's like the first...
No pussy.
No pussy. It's the first time I've actually said anything of that ilk in 1997.
Well, because you've been too preoccupied with the buses.
Buses or pussy.
The chances of me getting into St. Cuthbert's are much smaller now that Philip has stupidly decided not to go. If the school governors at St. Cuthbert's aren't letting me go, I'll be really angry at them and even more at Philip.
He was in his final year of high school, so I don't think it worked out. 26th of June, finally, after 3 days of confusion, I managed to work out what the date was.
The drive down was a long haul, and even though we left home at 8 to 8:30, we were still late in getting to the book caravan in mid-Wales because of poor navigation from Philip and badly placed road signs. It's always someone else's fault.
Always.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Philip was terrible at navigating last time you went, so somebody should have learnt from that. We only stopped 2 times, one for morning tea and the other for lunch, by which, because of a 3/4 of an hour traffic jam in Birmingham, we desperately needed. I think I may have dozed off a couple of times, but Michelle went to sleep. The caravan park is still the same now. You'll be snoring. I'll be like, Mark, you're like, what? I wasn't even asleep. Like, Mark, you were literally snoring. Then 30 seconds later, you'll be snoring again. I've never known anyone to fall asleep as quickly as you do.
It's a good skill.
And why do we feel the need to deny it? Like, it's not embarrassing to sleep. Like, it's okay to sleep. But every single time, my grandma used to do exactly the same thing. I'm not asleep, I'm just resting my eyes.
Because I think it's funny.
The caravan park, having finally got to it, was good and the site was great. There's a pool at the very top of the site next to reception and an ancient arcade with things like Double Dragon and Gauntlet. Double Dragon. The caravan itself was respectable, but the major drawback was it had no microwave.
I've got a poem here about caravans. I wonder if I wrote it about the same time. Do you want to hear the caravan poem?
Go for it.
We live in a caravan. A shitty old caravan. It's like a fucking baked bean can. And it's torturing me, man.
It's torturing me, man.
Caravans. What the hell are they? Caravans. A box at a beachside bay. Caravans are crap on a map. Caravans are a herd of turd. And if you've ever been in one, you'll know. We live in inner city flat. Dogs, cats, fucking rats. Doesn't matter where I go. The bastard beasts will bloody know.
That feels like a very separate, like that last paragraph.
I think that's a separate one.
Feels like a separate one to the caravan poem. After an okay night's sleep, we had our first breakfast, which was also okay. We decided we'd go to the local town of Taiwan, where we were ripped off at a spa shop. We also went into a hardware store to get some string, as there are no washing lines on site, forcing everyone to make use of the pay dryers. Not us. We've got our own DIY one. We'll tie one end of the string to one side of the wall where there's some sort of hook and do the same on the other.
Ha! Take that, caravan people. String, pegs.
How long were you there for that you needed to wash your clothes? I don't think I've ever been on holiday for like less than 2 weeks and needed to wash the clothes that I took.
I don't know the answer to that question.
We did end up going to the local beach today and it was quite good, but it's not the cleanest of beaches because it's got way too much sea. Oh, seaweed? You've got it on a different line. I was like, what do you mean there's way too much sea?
Doesn't sound very reasonable.
It doesn't. It's like, oh my God, so much sea, so much sand. How dare they? I made a really strong castle that would eventually get swept away when the tide came in. I also went swimming in the sea, which was cold to start with, but soon got easier. The waves were the largest I've seen in this country, besides maybe the summer waves of Tynemouth. After a snack on the beach and a couple of sandwiches at the caravan, we drove to a really nice tourist town called Barnmouth, which is situated next to the beach. Before the sand starts is a small amusement park, which has several snack bars and glitzy side shops full of sweet rock and sunnies. We walked around having a bit of trouble getting a parking space anywhere, and I got 3 key rings to add to now what must be a huge collection.
Yes.
So your 3 key rings, one was a realistic cigarette, another was a clicking cowboy gun, and the other was a Welsh zip-up purse, which was printed to like a double-decker bus. Buses! Bus wanker.
Bus.
After an ice cream, we decided to come back for a day on the beach some other time since the beach was so nice and clean. I also got some really nice flavoured rock that came quite cheap, luckily. The night I had an attempt at a caravan shower, which didn't turn out too good because the water kept on changing from warm to cold and vice versa.
Shaking a caravan around masturbating.
If the caravans are rocking, don't come a-knocking. Today we went to the Corris Craft Centre, which had an underground King Arthur's Labyrinth. We looked around a bit at the craft shop, which ranged from children's wooden toy store to wax shops. To get into the labyrinth, you had to go down a hill, which led to an opening in the side of a mountain it was situated under. To start off with, the tunnel was wet and it was a shock when the first blast of cold air came at you from underneath the mountain. Then you had to get into a boat and go across some water which dripped onto you from the top of the tunnel.
Sounds all very Lord of the Rings.
It does, doesn't it? A waterfall lay in the path of the boat, which made the journey look wet in the near future. The waterfall stopped, though water still dropped on our heads. After we got out of the boat, we went into several large underground rooms, and each had a King Arthur display. We were guided around by a woman in a death cloak, hiding her completely, but only speaking to say things like, "This way, please." Do you remember that? That's a bit strange.
Sounds like a pretty cool trip. I think I do. It's been quite a while, I know, after this entry. I don't know how long it will be until I ride it again. I just decided I would write in it. But I reckon it's worth it, because I've got stuff I've been able to talk about. Right, for a starter, I might be getting a date with this girl from swimming.
Yay!
On Wednesday.
Woo!
But don't laugh. Really, it's true. I've been pestering her for at least a fortnight.
I've been pestering her and she's finally given in just to shut me up. First she pestered the people on the plane. They wanted to throw themselves off. I bet they weren't even getting off at Bangkok. I bet they were meant to be getting on the same flight as you, and they were like, you know what, we'll just take a stopover instead.
Do you reckon I was next to this girl just with a pen and paper, like, harassing her?
Yeah, writing down everything she said.
Her name is Hazel Dodds, and so far I haven't done so great. I was told by her mum that I should ring sometime after 10 the next day, so I rang at about 10:30, but it didn't even sound like they were up yet. The person who answered was once again Hazel's mum, and she sounds like crap. So I thought, damn, why did I have to ring at this time? I should have waited until 12. I felt so dumb. Then I haven't said anything else. What happened? I can tell you about the dates that I did go on.
What date? With this girl?
Yeah.
You remember it?
It was at Warner Brothers Cinema in Newcastle, and we went to see The Full Monty.
That is not a good first date movie.
It's not good, and I don't think she wanted to go on that date with me at all.
No, because you pestered her.
I did. And then she was a girl from swimming, and I remember after the date, nothing happened on the date. I don't think I
Did she try and hold your hand and you refused?
No, I don't think there was any intimacy whatsoever. Anyway, I think the next time I was at swimming, she was saying, I thought it was going to be with a different mark. So it was like this, just not even like it was a bad date. It was like, I thought you were going to be someone else.
So she thought you were asking her out on behalf of another mark that she actually found attractive.
Not even going to embellish it like that.
Well, I'm just wondering, how else could she think it was going to be another mark?
No, this is to make it look like to others.
Oh, she said to others that she thought it, right, okay. So she's trying to make it out like she didn't even realise she was going on a date with you.
Yeah.
What a bitch. Hazel Dodds.
Hazel Dodds, you bitch. Okay, nice way to end the episode.
You can't have an episode of you without bashing someone for not finding you attractive.
Yeah.
Because how could someone not?
Yeah.
They must be...
Date, punching him off my weight.
Exactly. They must be blind or stupid or just a flirt or something. There couldn't be another logical reason why.
I should probably ditch the pen and paper.
Why?
Because it freaks people out.
Because it freaks me, because she just sat there. And then what do you want to say?
More details.
You've not even written many details this year.
Not many.
No?
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But we'll be moving on to 1998.
1998.
/ 1999.
How do you say 1998 in Australian?
1990 bloody 8.
No, that was... yes!
Follow Badly Written Boy online. We're at badlywrittenboy.com. Also find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at Badly Written Boy. Like and subscribe our podcast on Spotify and YouTube, and please leave a nice review.